Visual novels, I feel, are a genre I have difficulty getting into without an interesting hook or premise behind it. This is not just because I can't read, but also because I feel like it's hard to keep my attention for long with them. My monkey brain needs to be stimulated by flashing images on the screen and pressing buttons big and hard. So naturally, it's a little difficult for me to get through games that are mainly just text. And guys, if you couldn't tell, I'm a little stupid. I have trouble solving puzzles in games that aren't even puzzle games. Am I stupid, chat? I do dabble in the genre, like with Danganronpa or Ace Attorney, both of which keep me around with their colorful characters and interesting stories. As a result, I tend to overlook most games in the visual novel genre, unless usually recommended to me. Once a friend let me borrow this seemingly innocuous adventure visual novel on the DS, I would later come to regret passing on the genre. Kotaro Uchikoshi's Zero Escape 9 hours, 9 persons, 9 doors is what I describe as a game that is often overlooked, but not forgotten. It is a visual novel that I generally regretted missing out on after I finished it. Once the credits rolled and everything dawned on me, I got the feeling that this was an experience that was going to stick with me for a long time. And to this day, 5 years after I initially played it, it still manages to creep its way into my mind. What makes 999 so special to me, and to all the others who have participated in the Unary Game? Let's group up and step into the numbered door. And with a little hope, faith, love and luck, seek out the door that carries a 9. 999 opens with an actual bang as our protagonist Junpei finds himself aboard a ship. Confused and afraid, Junpei also sees that he's wearing a bracelet that he can't remove, and is also locked in this room. But before he can really figure out how he got there, the window cracks and water begins to seep into the room. Junpei has to now quickly find a way out of the room before he drowns. Wading through the water and solving the puzzles laid out in the room, Junpei recalls what happened prior to him coming here. After walking off the set of Back to the Future, a person in a gas mask ambushes Junpei in his own home and knocks him unconscious. They say that he's been chosen to participate in the Unary Game, and he isn't the only one. Once he finds a way out of the cabin, Junpei bumps into 8 others who find themselves in the exact same position he did, all wearing bracelets with numbers on them. Since they're placed in a precarious situation and can't exactly trust each other yet, they assign themselves code names corresponding to their bracelet numbers. For example, the twin-tailed girl with the number 4 bracelet assigns herself Clover, because 4-leaf clovers have 4 petals. This is also a very clever callback to the Japanese version, because her name is Yotsuba. Curiously enough, one of the participants is Junpei's childhood friend Akane, who he hadn't seen or heard from in 9 years. Now that all the players are in position, Zero, the person in the gas mask, explains the rules of the Unary Game. The purpose of the game is simple. The 9 participants have to escape the sinking ship by finding a door with the number 9 on it. This has to be done within 9 hours or else they drown, with 0 escape. This is so fucking bad. To escape, however, is not so simple. The group must navigate the ship's numbered doors first. These numbered doors house puzzles to solve and key information to escape. There are several rules and limitations though, such as a minimum of 3 people entering a door, with their bracelet numbers equaling the digital root of the corresponding number on it. The same people must also authenticate themselves once inside the door, lest they be blown to smithereens by the bombs inside the bracelets. We get to see firsthand just how severe the repercussions are for breaking them, establishing the stakes almost immediately. In a move out of sheer desperation, Bert over here takes Clover as a hostage and attempts to go through one of the doors alone. He then fucking explodes. Like, actually. Before we even got to learn his name, too. With the death of the 9th man looming over them, the gang reluctantly agrees to work together. This is where you can actually make your first decision. Will you pair up with Akane and proceed through door number 4 with her and 2 others? Or do you want to go through door 5 and investigate the charred remains of the 9th man? It's up to you, really. Regardless of your choice, however, you'll be treated to another escape section. In these escape sections, the game takes a small break from the story to tease your brain with interesting and complex puzzles. The escape sections of 999 are fairly straightforward point-and-click affairs, and make up the second half of the game. You enter the numbered door with a group of characters and work together to find your way out of a set of rooms, which is usually 2. To escape, you collect items and interact with objects in the environment in order to advance. And this includes putting a lit candle in your pocket. Zero's puzzles themselves are creative, becoming much more intricate as progress is made on the ship. They'll have you examining or combining things in your inventory and paying close attention to your surroundings. However, the puzzles are never difficult to the point of frustration, or easy to the point of insulting the player. Despite the focus being on puzzle solving, the escape sections showcase 999's biggest strength, which is its writing. The game will briefly pause the escape section to either world build or convey character information. meaning it's possible to get to know everyone if you pick the right combo of doors. So if you'd like to learn more about a certain character, or just want to pair up with them again, it's certainly not a bad idea to make your decisions solely based on that. You might find yourself thinking, hey, what's Lotus's deal? Why is Akane here after leaving me on red for 9 years? Does Santa know that we're actually all Japanese? Because of these questions, I chose to go through door 4 with Akane, Santa, and Lotus. We found ourselves in the second-class cabin and quickly got to work trying to get out. Akane and I stopped to talk about a bunch of topics, specifically the Titanic. We wondered whether or not we were on its replica sister ship. Zero must have a lot of money and influence in order to convert this replica into a saw trap, didn't he? Akane also thinks that the Titanic sank because of a terrible curse, so right off the bat we learn a lot about Akane, specifically that she's into the occult. Santa and I shot the shit about flower fortunes, and he even opened up to me about his distaste for them. We even talked about stonks for a bit. Lotus seemed to carry a mature aura, and was knowledgeable about a lot of topics. She was spouting some nonsense about morphogenetic fields and telepathy, but didn't know what a Unary was.
How could you not know? That's practically blasphemous. Oh, say you're sorry! Apologize to the Unary! Goodness, you are such a rude woman.
But if I wanted to go back and learn more about Snake, the blind man with the princely attire, or Seven, the large hulking dude, I could have gone through a different door. Maybe the ninth man's spaghetti body had something to offer. You are certainly encouraged to try different combinations of people just to see what would happen, be it you're curious about the outcome or just want to hear what they have to say next. The beauty of 999's gameplay is the freedom to choose, and we get to see firsthand just how these choices affect the narrative. I will now begin to lightly spoil 999 by talking about one of the many conclusions you can reach, as well as its main gameplay hook. I will not be unveiling any of the 11th hour twists, as I feel like it would be robbing you of an amazing experience. If what I said earlier sounds even a little appealing to you, please skip ahead to the timestamp on screen. For those who are interested in seeing a little more, keep watching. Once you complete a numbered door in 999, the game will resume to adventure mode. This intermission period between each puzzle room is usually filled with a sense of calm, as you can now take a breather and catch up with the people you didn't pair up with. This segment further down the line starts as any other, but now with the end tangibly in sight. The group finds the number 9 door in Eerie Chapel Room, and also a mysterious coffin with a keypad. You don't know the combo, so there isn't much your group can do at the moment. Your team regroups with the others to share the good news, but find out that Clover is now missing. One thing to note is that during these adventure segments, characters will split up and search new areas of the ship previously unavailable to them. Once they return, they usually have some new information to share with the group. So while characters have run off on their own before and come back safely, Clover's disappearance is a little alarming given someone else has already gone missing. With the knowledge that there isn't much time left before the ship sinks, everyone splits up to search for her. Akane and Junpei remind each other to be careful and temporarily part ways again, but tragedy always strikes when one least expects it. While searching the lower deck, Junpei doesn't find Clover, but instead finds Lotus, who he'd just spoken to moments earlier. She's slumped against the wall, sitting in a pool of her own blood. This revelation is punctuated by a piano key sound effect, and a feeling of unbearable dread. Both you and Junpei try to piece together what happened here, but before you do, something pierces through the tension. A knife, actually, stabbing you in the back. And whoever did this to Lotus is back to silence any witnesses. You crumple onto the ground, a confused husk of what you used to be. Your assailant slips into the elevator behind you, and you fade into nothingness. And that's it. You didn't find a way off the ship. You died and are left with the idea that whoever did this to you two is going to do it to everyone else. Who did this? And why? Where did Clover go? What was in the coffin? Hell, what was behind the 9th door? Well, you won't get to find out. At least not here. You have reached the ending referred to as the knife ending. For many players, myself included, this was their first ending. However, this may not be the ending that you reach on your first playthrough, as the knife ending is one of many possibilities for how 999 can end. It's possible to get one of the most illuminating endings on your first playthrough, but not the golden ending. Suffice to say, this is neither of the two. In fact, Knife is probably the ending that leaves the most up in the air, with the mystery of the coffin and the 9th door being unanswered. So with all this in mind, this is actually where 999 truly begins. It is also where the game gets the most interesting, as 999 begins to truly reveal the relationship the gameplay and its narrative share. It uses this relationship and the genre of visual novels itself as a vehicle in order to unravel its deeper mysteries. Choosing your own adventure is the name of the game here, as you are free to choose another set of doors that will give you a different outcome. Picking another door later on will have you paired up with Santa again. Behind this numbered door, Santa talks about mice who were placed in a C-shaped tank filled with water and 2 exits. The threat of drowning hangs over them, so they need to make a quick decision in order to survive. One exit has an electrified door, and one is too dark to properly navigate. So naturally, they gravitated towards the one that seemed the easiest to go through. The catch is that the rats had no way of knowing that the door was electrified, and met their doom once they reached it. It is only through repeated failure and experiments that the next generation of mice are able to escape. This sounds familiar, doesn't it? The reason I bring this up is because both you the player and Junpei are the mice bumbling your way through the Unary game. Side note, I think I accidentally locked myself out of this conversation on my first playthrough because the combination of doors that I chose did not allow me to actually see this on my first run, so I actually had to go back and see what did unlock it, kind of further proving my point here. The original DS version did not have a flowchart feature that allowed you to warp to any point in the story, so it really felt like you were starting over and trying something new in hopes it'll lead to a better ending. The re-release streamlines this and also has a visual representation of this maze, however. With each outcome on this flowchart, you come closer in finding the exit, and with the knowledge that one decision will lead to your death, you become smarter. You learn who you can or can't trust. You learn the solution to every single puzzle and become wiser to Zero's tricks. This sense of progression is important to not just the player, but for the narrative as well, as again you have to keep trying in order to reach that perfect ending. And by the time you are ready to reach it, you know exactly what you need to do, having seen every single outcome and knowing exactly what will lead to it. This all reaches a fever pitch in 999's conclusion, with revelations that literally turn the game on its head and change your perception of the events that unfolded. Nowadays, it's not uncommon for a visual novel to have a twist to it. Take one of my favorites, Doki Doki Literature Club, released 8 years after 999, but still achieving the same things within the visual novel genre. The strength of DDLC's hook comes from the fact that it's masquerading as a cute dating sim, then gently opens the door to something much more sinister. This is the most famous example of a game that does this, but I think what makes 999 so interesting is that it doesn't. It's not outwardly trying to be a wolf in sheep's clothing. 999 presents itself as a Saw-esque death game, and that isn't a bold-faced lie, because that's exactly what's on the tin. It just becomes something much more once all the mysteries of the Unary game are revealed. The fact that it can appear innocuous or generic is the point, actually. I'd argue that this has become the game's biggest strength, as the death game genre has become more and more saturated over time. It feels like Uchikoshi is aware of these expectations and cleverly wrote the script in order to subvert them at every turn. Characters that seem tropey or one-dimensional get more layers added to them the more the game peels its own back, and this is something that DDLC does as well, as it is a game written with visual novel tropes and conventions in mind. Both games then subvert these expectations and even play with them to create experiences that can only exist as visual novels. Speaking of the game's writing, 999's writing is tight and complex. In the moment, it may seem weird for these characters to suddenly start waxing poetic about luxury ships, flower fortunes, or even quantum physics. However, it all serves a purpose in establishing the game's rules and sciences, and by the end of the game, almost every question is answered if you pay very close attention. Even the identity of the assailant from the knife ending. If you choose to participate in Zero's game and see it through to the end, you will surely be rewarded. Now, what is the best way to experience this hidden gem? If you're a purist and like to keep notes handy, you can try the original DS experience. This was the version I first played, and I kept a pencil and paper on me to jot down puzzle solutions. I think the pixel sprites are cute and charming, and each character has their own text beeps to give you an idea of what they sound like. I will warn you that the DS version does not allow you to warp to any point in the game, so you are locked in your path once you make your choices. If you want to make new choices after you reach an ending, you can start over and skip through all the dialogue. The game will automatically stop skipping once you've seen something new, and this process doesn't take very long. You do have to do the puzzles behind the numbered doors again, but if you know the solutions, it shouldn't take you more than a couple of minutes. However, if you don't want this kind of experience, which is totally fair, the Unary Game's re-release is a valid option, and this version of 999 comes packaged with the second entry in the Zero Escape trilogy, Virtue's Last Reward, so this gives you the most bang for your buck in my opinion. The Unary Games frequently goes on sale and is available on Steam, Vita, and PS4 at the time of this video's recording, and a Switch port doesn't seem that out of the question. This remaster of 999 adds voice acting with dual audio. You can't go wrong with either Japanese or English dub, as both are rock solid. The Unary Games also adds drawn sprites, high-res artwork, and streamlining that makes the experience better overall. Each adventure and escape segment is broken up to little nodes on a flowchart, and you can freely go back to any point in the story by selecting that option. This is a feature later games would implement as well, so you'll be much more familiar with Zero Escape's narrative and gameplay structures moving forward. Also very important, the Unary Game has the option to switch between novel and adventure modes. Adventure modes feature sprites and text boxes like a normal visual novel would. Novel mode includes dialogue and descriptions with text overlaid on the screen as if the game were an actual book. The DS version is a fusion of both options, with the text boxes on the top screen and the descriptions for everything on the bottom. I personally think novel mode is a bit messy presentation-wise, and I think the DS version handled its presentation much better. However, due to the lack of the two screens in the porting process, there unfortunately had to be a compromise. There are drawbacks and benefits to both versions, but the Unary Games port is the clear winner here as it is the most accessible. There is no wrong way to experience 999 though, so you should definitely go with what's most comfortable for you, the player. In the end though, I don't think Zero Escape 9 hours, 9 persons, 9 doors is a game that should be skipped. It is one of the greatest visual novels I've ever played, alongside another one I might be talking about soon. While a lot of the games I've played have resonated with me on an emotional level, this one is truly special to me. It's one of those games that made me genuinely upset I didn't finish sooner. 999 also makes me wish I could wipe my memory so I could play it all over again. And there really isn't anything quite like this first entry in Kotaro Uchikoshi's Zero Escape trilogy. I hope that I've convinced you to at least check it out and, at best, fully finish it. I don't think you'd regret participating in the Unary Game like the countless others who have, and keep those memories close to their hearts. Sticking a way out may seem impossible, but remembering to have hope and love will certainly bring you good luck. Congratulations on completing the Unary Game and seeking a way out. If you've made it to the end of this video, I humbly appreciate all of your time and patience. Your continued support is the reason why I keep doing this. This video's variant of Himawari is her as Clover, courtesy of Belle at Gardenia Mist. I love this piece for all of its cute little details, and I love what she did with her hair. It's very cute. If you'd like to see more of what I do, I stream on Twitter. That's the one! I stream on Twitch, and I'm also quite active on Twitter. Considering doing funny YouTube things if you want to see me do this more and more, as I'll be making videos whenever I find the time for it. And as always, stay gold and take care of yourselves, gamers. I'll catch you on the flip side.
You know,
It's your first time?
I might get wet
What?
down there. I'd get soaking wet.
Well, I mean, of course you would. That's the way it works. I mean, I've never heard of anyone getting soaking wet.
Holy shit! Get a fucking room!